Hello Internet, it's the Pennsylvania Hitman. I'm coming to you from the PaHitman studios in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I'm here to talk to you about my martial arts and training background, part 2. Part 2 is going to be about my wrestling background. But before that, I got to finish telling you about part 1. I didn't realize that the video got cut off at the end there, and I hit a couple wrong buttons editing the film, and I didn't realize the ending got cut off. So basically, I was just saying that I competed a few times in karate, not a lot. My first competition was somewhere in Warren, Pennsylvania. I got paired up with a girl, so I had to spar. So I was fighting a girl, and they told you weren't supposed to hit to the head. It's basically, karate is like a game of tag. It doesn't matter how hard or how light you hit someone as long as you touch them. It's basically a game of tag. Well, if you get 3 points, you win. So she scored 2 points, but she scored the 2 points by hitting me in the head. And I didn't see a point in blocking my head when they told you couldn't hit in the head. So I'm thinking like, well, if she can hit in the head, I guess I can hit in the head. I guess I heard the directions wrong. So you know, if she gets another point, I lose. So I gotta score some points. So we're sparring, and bam, I whack her in the head and I get disqualified. And in karate, you're taught that you just deal with it. You don't argue with the judges because they're black belts, and me being a white belt, it would be super disrespectful if I tried to complain about her getting a point. So I basically just had to suck it up and walk off. I competed a couple more times. I didn't like it. I did compete in a Taekwondo tournament one time, and I won the Taekwondo tournament. I never have competed in Taekwondo, but one of my first schools that I opened up, I was renting space at a Taekwondo school, and I was watching them spar, and they would really fight. This place was, I actually respect Taekwondo. It was Olympic style Taekwondo, so they were hitting each other. They're trying to knock each other out. And there was a Taekwondo tournament in town one day, and I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to try it. And I ended up winning first place in Taekwondo tournament. So I'm technically undefeated in Taekwondo, if you can believe that. So that's my karate story. Now we're going to talk about my wrestling background. I started wrestling in 5th grade at Edinboro University. They had a kids wrestling program ran by Coach Sokolowski and Coach DeForce. They ran a very, very successful program. We had kids from all over the county coming in and working out there, and they would even sometimes have college students, D1 All-American wrestlers, D1 wrestlers coming in there that were on the Edinboro University wrestling team, helping the young kids out in the class too. So their program was top notch. It was a super good program, and we were wrestling every single weekend. Every weekend there was a wrestling tournament. Me and my family, we were going to wrestling tournaments every single weekend. It was me and my brother. We both wrestled at this youth program. I went to General McLean Middle and High School in Edinboro, Pennsylvania, where I wrestled varsity every year I wrestled. My high school had one of the best wrestling coaches in the country. His name was Fred Cairo, and he was an All-American wrestler at Edinboro University College. We were one of the top schools in the county my freshman year, and we won the county title my sophomore year. I was also awarded second team All-County that same year. In between wrestling season, I went to the Foxcatcher Wrestling Club at Cathedral Prep High School in Erie. Coach Honorado ran the program there, and he was one of the most technical coaches I've ever seen. I was blessed to be around some of the best coaches in the country for wrestling. My parents sent me to any wrestling camp that I wanted to go to. I went to Lock Haven University's camp my freshman year, and I went to Clarion University's camp my sophomore year. During the summer, I was still practicing at the youth program in Edinboro. I had the opportunity to train with some of EUP's best wrestlers. My luck took a turn for the worst after a super successful sophomore year. My shitty high school decided to fire Coach Cairo and hire some fat turd named Mark Eastliff. I was really close to Coach Cairo and couldn't imagine wrestling for any other coach, so I elected to not wrestle my junior year. I was offered a full scholarship to Clarion University after I went to camp there. They were a D1 school and one of the best schools in the country. All I had to do was continue my success, and I was guaranteed a full ride with them. So me electing to not wrestle my junior year was a big sacrifice. A friend of my Uncle Rick's, who was a former D1 wrestler at Edinboro, talked me into wrestling my senior year. Coach Gray worked with me in his spare time to prep me for my senior year. We met at the university's wrestling room and trained hard, prepping me for my senior year. I rejoined my wrestling team after a few weeks after the season started. Mark Eastlick was the worst coach I've ever seen. I swear dude was going to have a heart attack when he was demonstrating a penetration step. He was the worst coach. The dude sucked donkey balls, believe me. I wasn't there for him. I was there for me, and that's what I focused on. He didn't like me joining the team so late and tried to stop me from wrestling. He couldn't stop me from wrestling, so he told me since I joined late, it wasn't fair to the students that was in the starting lineup that I would beat and replace. He then told me I wasn't allowed to wrestle in a match for an entire month. I thought that was huge bullshit, but I really just had to make it to the end of the year and qualify for states. In wrestling, it's a lot better than other sports. The coach doesn't have to choose who starts. You have wrestle-offs. Every week before a match, we'd have a wrestle-off. Everybody that wanted to start at 103, 112, 125, and so on, we had to wrestle each other. Whoever won that day and beat everybody was the starting person for the starting lineup in the match. So if there was guys that were really close, maybe one day one guy would beat the other guy, sometimes the other dude would beat the other guy next week, then they would switch starting positions. So wrestling is like the fairest sport there is because the best person is the one that represents the team that week. And that piece of shit coach Mark Eastlick, he knew that I could beat the starting guy. And he didn't like me because he knows why I didn't wrestle my junior year because they replaced him. They replaced Fred Caro. So me and that dude, we already knew we weren't going to get along. So he did whatever it took to make sure that I didn't wrestle. So I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm not there for him. I'm there for me. So I'm just going to wrestle and I'm just going to do my thing. So then I got kicked off the wrestling team. We went to Strong Vincent High School in Erie, and Strong Vincent didn't really have much of a wrestling team. I went there, but I was suspended from wrestling in any matches. So I lost some weight because he told me that there was a chance that I could wrestle if something happened or whatever. So I lost all this weight, and he tells me that I'm not wrestling. I'm like, whatever. Well, there's a pizza place like right outside this school in the corner. I hung out in Erie. I've been in, hung out with all my friends there. I know Erie pretty well. I'm just going to go run outside the school, get this pizza, and come back. I go and I get this pizza and I come back and he sees me eating this pizza. He's like, where'd you get that at? I told him, I said, at the pizza place on the corner. You left the school. You weren't supposed to leave the school. And he literally kicked me off the team for going and getting a pizza, if you can believe that. So he didn't tell me I was kicked off the team that day. We waited till we got back, and then the next couple days at school, I went to practice, and shit was weird. And principal called me down to the office and told me that I'm kicked off the team. So shit hit the fan. I definitely wasn't happy with that, and I lost my temper, and I destroyed some stuff, fucked some shit up, did some things, and got kicked out of school. So that basically the school met with my mom and said that, if I just stay out of the school, then they're not going to press charges on me. So just, leave peacefully and we won't press charges on them. So that was the end of my career in wrestling. I still wrestled. Past that, accomplishments in wrestling. I went to states a few times as a kid for freestyle wrestling. I never made it out of districts in high school. Because really I only wrestled up until my sophomore year. Pennsylvania is probably arguably one of the best states in the country for wrestling. But I probably have, over 1,000 wrestling matches under my belt. I mean, every weekend we were going to wrestling tournaments. And, I was definitely taking first through third place, guaranteed. I don't remember not placing at a wrestling tournament. I was so good at wrestling that it was getting to a point to where, like, if I didn't like my performance and I didn't get first place, I literally wouldn't even pick up my medal or trophy. But I will say this, though. I believe that I was good at wrestling, but I wasn't a good wrestler. And what I mean by that is I believe that I won most of my matches on sheer toughness. and being in better shape than the other guy. I don't think that I was a really technically good wrestler. I only had a few moves I knew. I really wasn't like I felt like I wasn't like this exceptional athlete. I was just tough and in really good shape. Probably one of the most memorable moments of my high school wrestling career was my sophomore year. We went to Northwestern High School to wrestle, and this was the year that my wrestling team won the county title. Our wrestling team was really good from like 125 and up. The lower weights sucked. Like 103 sucked, 112 sucked. 119, I believe, was me. So, and I wasn't like the best wrestler in the world. I won more than I lost, but they couldn't guarantee a win out of me. So they really needed the lower weights to not get pinned, and then the guys at 125 and up would have to pin all their opponents for us to win matches, and these guys did that. The wrestling team I worked with, the upper weights, they were exceptional. They pinned everybody. It was crazy. But anyways, back to the story. We were at Northwestern High School. It's my sophomore year. I'm wrestling, and I'm going against this really, really tough guy. I'm sure he was supposed to beat me, but back then I never even thought about that. I was just wrestling, and I just had winning on my brain. I wasn't even thinking about losing. So after we weighed in, the guy that I'm wrestling, I'm kind of standing off to the side. He goes up to my coach, and I'm like standing right there, and he's talking to my coach. Hey, Coach Cairo, how you doing? Blah blah. I think they knew each other the way they were talking. But he's like, oh, I bet you wish I wrestled for your team and blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, motherfucker, no, he don't. I'm going to kick your ass. Like, what are you talking about? So this guy was like already counting on kicking my ass is what it sounded like to me. And that conversation he had with my coach fucking pissed me the fuck off. I'm like, who is this motherfucker going to talk to him about, oh, I bet you wish I was wrestling for you guys this year. You guys are good, blah, blah, blah. Fuck that dude. Oh, man, I was like, oh, man, I'm going to fuck this dude up when we wrestle. So when we wrestled, it was a tough match, man. I had black and blue marks all over my face. We were headbutting each other. It was crazy. During the match, I kept tapping them. I would always tap someone in the head and shoot. So I was tapping them in the head, and I probably was tapping them harder than what you normally would tap someone, probably because of that ignorant shit that he said. And during the match, the guy I'm wrestling, I wish I could remember his name, but I can't remember his name. He said to me, you slap me one more time and I'm punching you. I'll bet. Boom! Smacked his ass again. He pulls his fist back like he's going to hit me. And then I went and I shot in on him, and the ref broke it up, and he had a talk with us, telling us to knock our shit off, blah, blah, blah. Well, I ended up beating him by a point or two, and I ended up getting my coach always gave awards for the best matches of the day, and I got an award for that match that day. I didn't even expect it. But man, that fucking motherfucker pissed me off. Don't fucking talk that shit. So that's my wrestling career. I continued to wrestle even after high school because I got into it. I realized how important wrestling was for mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I continued to practice wrestling, even though I wasn't a part of a wrestling team or anything like that. So I'd say my wrestling experience is 30 plus years and well over maybe 1,000 or 2,000 matches. I wrestled all the time. So that's my wrestling background for MMA and training.